Hey everybody, it's Ron at Becoming Enlightened Together. So first thing, of course, is first. Apologies. Uh, I know nobody out there is hanging on a thread waiting for my next reading and so on, so I'm not coming in that type of energy, but I am coming because I'm trying to be consistent as much as I can be, in spite of things. And truthfully, it's just been the last couple of days. I just took some time to myself. Okay, it wasn't that I didn't have the time. I just used it for my own regeneration, so to speak. It's been very hectic the last couple of weeks. I told you I've been spending a great deal of my time in emergency with my ward. So there is some improvements, but it's slow going, and things could change literally any second. So I'm also, doing some other things as well. And like I said, I'm not trying to get too much into my personal, private business because nobody really wants to hear that, anyways, unless they're trying to build some kind of a master plan or whatever to come at me. And not that I'm worried about it, but I make it real easy for them, kind of thing. Anyway, all that conspiratorial thinking aside, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap up all of last week. I know I owe you like 4 readings from last week, so I'm going to wrap it up with Friday and Saturday's energy, and then I'm going to go ahead and get into this week. And last week kind of runs into this week. Okay, um, time is not relevant when we're talking about higher dimensional planes of existence, usually. So I have no way of proving it. I mean, maybe there are some great mathematicians out there who have already come up with it, and I haven't seen it. But there are a multitude of dimensions that do exist simultaneously, some faster, some slower, just differences. Something different, okay? You may be a man, you may be a woman, you may be something else, who knows? I mean, if you're new to the concept of reincarnation and things of that nature, you can just look at it from the Hindu perspective, and there's many other cultures that still believe that as well. But it's also in terms of physics echoed in science and the laws of thermodynamics as far as energy being not being able to be created or destroyed. In fact, it's something that's eternal, okay? But what it does is it is able to manifest into a different form. And when you, of course, expire from this three-dimensional plane of existence, it goes into another way of being. I mean, just simply put, it's a simplified version of what's happening. Beyond that, it's all conjecture, to be honest with you. Many of us have theories, and we can come up with a multitude of, exoteric scriptural backings. We can even come up with some esoteric or hermetic backings to what we conclude. But the thing is, until you're there, until you're experiencing it, and even then there are questions, I'm sure. Nobody knows, not with 100% certainty. So trust your own instincts and your own gut, because in the end, this journey is about just you. You individually. You come into this world alone, you leave alone. Okay, so that doesn't mean we don't have connections along the way and that we don't cherish those connections. There are lessons involved in that. There are things that we learn along with those connections. So, good or bad. I've already rambled too long. So, to close things out, what we had on Friday, we ended up with basically the concept of a love letter. Basically, I don't want to say love letter. Let me just say a letter to the karmic, okay? And this letter is at the five-dimensional level of plane of existence. So it's not a conscious thing that's going on with most of the collective out there. But in this letter, you're saying, dear karmic, okay? The irony of having to watch your secret enemy in the collective rise up while you simultaneously fall from grasp. Now that's a little bit longer than I could have put in the title, but that explains it perfectly for Friday's reading. That's exactly what it was. So It's unfortunate. Some of us don't even know with 100% certainty who these karmics are in our lives. Some of us know, or we certainly suspect. We've been given enough little red flags over the years or whatever to chime us in, but we haven't had the cold hard facts come to us yet. That's another thing that we're seeing also. We see that in the Saturday reading, where during this fall of grace, the actual fall of grace in question from Friday's reading, and how great that fall is, gone from having at least the illusion of having pretty much everything to losing. And it's not even remotely over yet for them. Okay. And again, there's allusions to possible death along the way as well for a couple of very, very nasty karmics, in our lives. Someone who just refuses to quit. The jealousy, the rage, the berserkness of this energy is just, it defies logic, okay? They're not acting logical at all. They have lost their mind. And there's even allusions, of course, to that being in a spiritual perspective, the taking over of that person. Literally, there has been, inclinations written in some of the stones that these people have been taken over by other forces. You don't have anything to worry about, collective, but, it's a sad state of affairs that people have just so much anger, so much rage, so much unresolved childhood issues that they end up taking it out on somebody who's done absolutely nothing to them, and then they end up falling, and greatly. So that's the story, in a nutshell. Now, with that being said, and again, Saturday's title was something to the effect of, again, a fall from grace, and how great that fall actually is. It's a tremendous fall from grace, with Urus in the reverse as the future energy for that. So, Lothal in reverse, Urus in the reverse, that's not very good energy, and that's the way last week ended up. So, please forgive me for this. It's because the energy has. Personally, these things are happening behind the scenes for these people, and it's not good. It's not good at all. And the thing is, some of them are just starting. Just now starting to feel this. So they have no idea just how deep this karmic hole they've created for themselves actually is, and it's harsh. Alright, and again, we're almost at 10 minutes, and I haven't even started with this new week's energy. Now, the new week, it picks up, Sunday, yesterday, and today in a negative energy. Again, this is primarily the reason that I was alluding to a few minutes ago, but didn't quite finish, that I didn't want to do it because it was all negative. All of it was negative, is persisting into this week, and I didn't want to stay awake and report all this negative energy, but then I realized I was being remiss. Somebody out there needed to hear it for some reason or another, whether it was to prepare their own minds or hearts, or, just as some form of confirmation, because I don't see what's going on out there, and because of the lack of real participation, I've led myself to believe that it wasn't that important, and shame on me. I'm sorry, I am. I'm just trying to find balance in everything, and it looks like I'm just going to keep finding hurdle after hurdle, but I'll get there. I will. Alright, so the overall energy of this week is the blessed journey. See, it gets better after Wednesday, tomorrow. So illumination and clarity are coming. Also, abundance is on its way. And certainly more than just a few hints at relationships, or at least the spicy side of things, and possible travel in the making. So all that's covered with Sunday's energy. Now, the overall energy for this week, that means throughout the whole week, the overall encompassing energy is that of Canes in the upright. And that's a great rune, to have as far as an overall energy. It's one that I, again, have tattooed on me because I like to create things. And it's for inspiration, creativity. It's also about illumination, knowledge. It speaks of the torch, the flame, the light bulb going off. It talks about somebody's clarity, being provided. Again, the light bulb going off. Positivity, your craftsmanship, your abilities, to create. Not just with your hands, but you can create musically with your voice. You can create, a multitude of things, whether it's a painting, a song, or whatever the case may be. But you can do it in videography as well, in a piece of a movie or a documentary or something like that. Maybe you're working online on YouTube and so on. You're creating your own, content. I'm still not at the comfortable level of calling this content yet. It's just me telling you what the stones are telling me concerning you, the collective, and me relaying that information hopefully as accurately and as clearly as possible, because that's also part of my prayers when I do this each day. Now with Canes, as the overall energy for the week, it talks about one's vision, their revelations, their creativity and inspirations. It talks about that fire of life, Basically, we're talking about the sacral chakra, creativity centers of our auric system, coming to life. And that's a beautiful energy to have, especially after stepping out and then into a whole new cycle. Now, Sunday's energy, what we had, was another good room. So Sunday's energy was actually pretty good. It was out of August. And August is about protection. It's about, divine connection. It's about optimism and guardianship. It talks about aspirations. It talks about shielding and stewardship. It talks about defense and protective urge to shield oneself or to shield others, protecting them from bullies and other things that they can't take care of themselves typically. Just being a motherly type of nurturing figure, so to speak. But it also talks about defense, so it's almost like a Thurisaz or like a Thor-like, energy we're talking about. That's basically his energy too: protection, defense, and smashing the hell out of things. Basically, he's not subtle. So it talks about warding off of evil as well. So Sunday's energy was very good, and it was our clue basically as the new day for the new week, as we celebrate. Saturday was actually the original, Sabbath. You want to get it from the Judeo-Christian perspective, but that's a whole nother subject, and it's not one that everybody else has to honor as a result. But the point is, we have to have a starting point, and in our Julian calendar, that's probably the most likely place to start. Sunday, okay? Sunday, and then, of course, work our way through until the following Sunday. Alright, so again, for Sunday's energy, we also have a connection with the gods, divine understanding and connection, and awakening, our intuition coming to life, a higher life, indeed, seeing more than just the material, keeping hold of one's success, whether you've won it or it was earned, in some way. So that was the overall energy. And then, of course, things started going a little bit back and forth from Monday on. Okay, so on Monday we have another god that shows up. It's the Tyre's Mighty Rune. T was, but it's in the reverse, as you can see. Now, Tyre's rune, he's basically God of justice and judgment and all those kinds of things. He's straightforward, very honorable. I mean, if you think about any word that has some representation or meaning to leadership of some kind, he is the man that basically had that attribute. That's where it comes from. So, bearing, courage, dependability, decisiveness, endurance, enthusiasm, initiative, integrity, judgment, justice, knowledge, loyalty, tact, and synthesis. All those leadership traits he embodied. He didn't fight with magic. When Tyre fought, he fought with his determination and with his knowledge. He knew he was right. He was in the right. He was just in his cause. Okay, if you will. So, but what it means in the reverse is a form of listlessness. Your journey is being blocked. Okay, it talks about somebody who has questionable motives. So again, this could be that person that we're talking about in our lives. It doesn't necessarily imply that it is the karmic here, but it's somebody in karmic energy, low vibration. Okay. So somebody whose energy, their creative energy, and their flow, it's basically being, it's blocked right now. Okay, their chakras are closed up, if you will. Their mental paralysis is also a part of this. Somebody who's overanalyzing everything. They have been, given out a great deal of injustices to other people in their life, and now they themselves are experiencing it. So it's starting to seem more and more that, yes, indeed, this is very much somebody who's karmic. So we see imbalances in their life, strife, war, conflict, okay, failures in any type of competition, dwindling resources and passion, feeling separated, lonely, and finding a lot of difficulty in communicating. So that's Monday's, general energy. Not very promising, as you can see. Now Tuesday, things picked up a little bit with the god Thor's rune. So we had two gods back to back, one in the reverse, one in the upright. Thurisaz, that's Thor's. As you can see, it kind of looks like a thorn in a sense, right? As you see it, you look at it, okay? And that dictates the the defensive or protective aspect of that energy. But it refers to giant, as he was half giant, and he battled, the giants, if you will. He protected Asgard. He protected, Asgard and Midgard, which is Earth, from the giants and so on. So he himself being half giant. That's a whole other story. Okay. So Thor in the upright talks about thorn and the means of protection, protecting the rose petals, the delicate flower itself. So protection, defense, giants, reactive force, and the directed force of destruction and defense. Again, he's not subtle. He smashes through everything that's in his way. So having the instinct or the instinctual will, in order to get things done, using, your inner knowledge or drive or that voice that keeps saying, do this, or get that done, or whatever, regeneration, of course, is all covered under this, as well as change and the catharsis. And this is where it gets a little bit sexual. Look how it talks about male sexuality. And again, women can be in male, energy as well. But it talks about male sexuality, specifically fertilization and vital eroticism. So that's Tuesday's energy, okay? Now, Wednesday's energy, again, it goes a little bit south again with the wishing rune, Wunyo. But Wunyo is in the reverse. Can you see that? Let's see if I can get it without the glare. It looks like a sharp P, because all their letters are sharp angles, because they had to etch them and so on. So it wasn't easily written. They didn't write with pen and paper. So not typically. Alright, so Wunyo in the reverse talks about dissatisfaction, okay? Somebody is extremely dissatisfied on Wednesday. Somebody's feeling miserable, fear. Somebody who's extremely headstrong, impatient. Somebody, again, who's sorrowful, feeling, a sense of strife and alienation. Somebody who is possibly delirious in their thinking, who is basically taking things to cope. In other words, intoxicants of various types, not just alcohol. So, and this again alludes to possession by higher forces, impractical enthusiasm, faking the funk for public consent, that kind of a thing. Doesn't want anybody to know what is going on because it reveals who they are. It reveals the lies of everything that they've been saying. So this is somebody who's in a raging frenzy and somebody who is basically on the precipice of going berserk. That's exactly what the energy itself says. So that's Wednesday's energy. So we're going back and forth in terms of the karmic readings. What's for the collective specifically, and what's going on with the karmic. So I must have somebody who's in that energy that's cross reading, or somebody who's desperately in need of that energy for their own reasons. But Thursday, what we have is a goddess. We have the mighty goddess Freya coming in on Thursday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday is all about, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. No, wait, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday are all about the gods and the goddesses. So this is the beautiful Freya. Now, she wasn't just beautiful. She was a goddess of war, as well as beauty, love, abundance, and magic. She probably have a lot of different descriptors given to her, depending on who you read. But she did teach Odin himself basically some magic, type of magic especially, but she herself was a magical being. Okay. Now, Freya in the upright talks about things dealing with wealth and abundance mostly. So, cattle, wealth, abundance, prosperity, fulfillment, gain, and possessions won or earned income, financial strength either now or in the very near future, hope, plenty, social success. Talks about foresight, being able to see a little bit ahead, because of your intuition and all that. Fertility, creation, as well as destruction. Now, typically something has to be, removed or destroyed before something new can be brought in, okay? So, regardless of whether it's a relationship or whether it's, any particular material thing that you want to possess. So it's a good energy for Thursday, and Friday is also good, and so Saturday. So Thursday, Friday, and Saturday are good. Wednesday we have another hurdle, but Friday's energy is that of Perth Row, and Perth Row also is in the upright. Okay, so it talks about games and gaming and lots and chance and uncertain meaning. It talks about mystery and fate and destiny, things of that nature, secrets, secret societies, initiations. It talks about those things which are hidden, occult abilities. It talks about knowing one's destiny, knowing future matters or your own fate. It talks about the feminine mysteries, which includes intuition. Talks about, of course, things such as the vagina. Talks about fertility. It talks about sexuality. So we have masculine and feminine sexuality going on here, regardless of what type of relationship you have. That's the energy that's being, covered here. It talks about also fellowship, joy, and evolutionary changes happening in our lives. So Friday is a good energy as well. And we close out Saturday again with Radho. Radho, the blessed journey. And Radho is in the upright as well. Okay? The blessed journey. So the blessed journey, anything dealing with traveling, vacations, relocations, evolution, seeing the right perspective of something, seeing something or the right move to make, and then deciding upon it, the rhythms of life, the dance of life, that kind of thing. So it's moving with positive outcome. Okay? That's one way to look at it. Movement with positive results or positive outcome. So that's the energy on Saturday. So again, the overall energy of Knaz, what looks like a C, sort of, our cursor, is all about getting all of your inspiration, your understanding, your wisdom, your knowledge, your insights and intuition. Okay, all of that is the energy for this coming week. So everything that happens after that is basically covered within or underneath that particular overall energetic umbrella for that week. That's the way that I manifest these readings. I pray for that very specifically as I do this each week. And what I'm going to do next is both Monday and today's reading as well. And that'll bring me up to speed, okay, with the close of last week and the slow bringing in of this blessed journey for this week. Okay. Alright, so that being said, you guys stay victorious, take care, God bless, and I'll see you very shortly.